Hi, I'm Deb Dedrick, High Performance Coach. Welcome to episode number 116, How to Figure Out Your First Things First. That's a complicated topic, and I've taken some notes to help me walk you through it. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. But I think it's very important if you're wanting to live a happy life and you're wanting to figure out what happy is for you, you need to begin to get to know yourself better. And the whole point of this video is to help you figure out what it is you want, what your first things are first, what that looks like to you. It's my mission as your expert guide to leading a happy life to give you tools and tips and strategies and ideas and frameworks that when we're not together, that maybe you can go back and look up and refresh your memory. And in those difficult moments in your life, you'll have something to help you get through it. I've spent most of my life using other people's frameworks to help me get through those tough times. I've spent many, many hours listening to audio before video was available. One of my mentors, and I listened to hours and hours of her, was Joyce Meyer. I listened to hours and hours of Brian Tracy and Joel Osteen and Zig Ziglar. And I found when I was feeling particularly down, all I had to do was pull out my audio. It was an MP3 or it was a CD, and plug them into my ears. And that helped me combat those moments in life when I was feeling alone and I didn't have the tools to be able to deal with something. And it helped me shift my mindset, which brings me into my tool. Now, some of this is going to be based on the book from James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, and also from Stephen Covey's book, First Things First. There's a lot of different ways that you can plug in ideas from others to help you create a happy life, and how to figure out what your first things first are, because everybody is different. Yours are going to be different from mine. Mine are going to be different from my family members. Oh my, and isn't that the case? A lot of my ideas, boy, they shoot those down before they even get out of my mouth. And you'll find that too, dealing with family members, teammates at work. So don't let other people steal your dream would be one of my first things to tell you, because I've had many people over the course of my life look at me and tell me, oh, you're not going to be able to do that. So when you hear that, I want you to check that at the door and push the delete key, because absolutely everything everybody told me that I couldn't do, I went on and did. Probably just to show it to myself that I could, or maybe it wasn't, I never internalized what other people thought. So number one, you need to consciously commit in your mind's eye to what's important to you. And that means developing the clarity on what's important to you. And clarity is having a supreme focus in your mind's eye. And those are going to change depending on what age in your life that you're at, what phase. When you're a parent to little children, it's going to be different as you're a parent to grown adult children, or if you're a millennial and you don't have children. All those different areas or generations in your life or phases in your life. So consciously commit at the time that you are right now in your life to developing clarity on what it is that you want, and don't let other people steal your dreams. And you're going to learn to step into, I love this, the zone of your genius. What is the zone of your genius? What is the most important part to you? That's Gay Hendricks, The One Thing, which is super cool. And the one thing, because every single person out of 7 billion people on this earth, every single person has something that's they're uniquely good at. And that is what he talks about, is the zone of genius. And how do you identify your zone of genius? Well, that takes clarity, and it takes thought, and it takes listening to that inner voice in your mind's eye. And number two, what is your life's work? Now life's work is different from busy work. Busy work is what you do when you just go through the motions. What we're trying to get here to is what your life's work is, and how are you going to figure that out so you can put that first. That's the first thing you do, not the last. And that means identifying what it is by getting quiet and getting still and listening to that inner voice, and maybe even going back in your mind's eye to when you were a child before all these things came against you and distracted you. For me, after I thought about it for a long time, I remembered when I was 10, 11, and 12, I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to be a writer, and I wanted to be an artist. And then I'd come back around, and what did I spend the most time doing before I got confused by what other people's expectations were, what my family obligations were, going way back in to what my natural inclinations were. And this will help you. It was writing, and it was producing beautiful words. And for now I'm developing that skill by talking to you and teaching, being a teacher to help you navigate in today's world and come out and come through those difficult storms and create the life that you want, that you live intentionally, not have you always reacting to life and not creating the life that you want. And how are you going to do that? Well, it's not by following the traditional time management. It's more putting first things first. And as I've begun to implement this in my life, I see myself gaining momentum. And how do I do that? Well, I take the best part of my day, not the leftover part of my day. And I take the very best part of my day and I devote that to doing my life's work. So 80% of my day is devoted to developing the skill set and creating the content that I want to use to become the best coach, to become the best teacher. And so for you, identifying where your natural inclinations are by listening to your inner voice and reflecting over the course of your life, and then becoming attuned to it, and then programming that into your day-to-day life. And maybe you can't always do that because you have a full-time job, but there's many hours after the day ends that you can turn off the TV, turn off Netflix, turn off your cell phone, say no to going out, say no to all those events, and spend focused blocks of time after hours to develop that skill set that you need to begin to live into becoming what your best version is, what your first things first are, where you live from within your heart, where you live with passion. And number 4, you must develop and use your inner compass to identify what this is. And we all have that if we can become quiet. A lot of people talk about using meditation and using that, Gay has an affirmation that he uses. It's to expand. I expand in abundance, love, and success every day, and I inspire those around me to do the same. And he uses that as a meditative thought that he uses over and over in his mind. And I begin my day, and I wrote them on 5x7 cards, and I have them all over the place. I have them on my mirror, I have them in my car, and I have them by my bed. Because if it works for him, I think it'll work for me. And it's, I expand in abundance, love, and success every day, and I inspire those around me to do the same. And as you do this, and you become aware, and you start learning, and you start daily learning, and you start reprogramming your mind's eye, your mind's thoughts, you begin this upward spiral of learning, and your life expands. And you begin to accomplish those things that are most important to you, instead of just going through the life and just reacting to life, reacting to the first person that calls you and doing the first thing that comes up or shows up in the morning. You live intentionally. You stop doing that, and you begin figuring out what your first things first is, and you begin living that way. So going back over how to figure out what your first things first are, it's consciously committing to what it is, using clarity to dive deep into your mind's eye to become aware of what it might be for you. Determining what your life's work is a process, and it becomes easier as you begin to not use traditional time management ideas, but to do the first things first that are most important to you and take those biggest blocks of time. And if you're working, use your free time to take those blocks of time and consciously work on what those are and develop the skill sets necessary to accomplish those, and develop the quality of life that you want by developing the skills that you want and living intentionally every day into those days, and living every single day into becoming what's most important to you, because we're all so unique in this world, and we're all here for a different reason, and we're all going to have unique experiences that shape the way that we think about ourselves, and learning to identify those negative thought loops that will prevent you from becoming your best self or living into your best self, eliminating outside influences or influencers that are saying you can't and saying in your mind's eye that you can. All these things work together to cohesively create a foundation that allow you to begin to develop the skill sets that you need to implement them into your daily life by practicing like I'm doing right now. You know, the only way you're ever going to become different is if you do different things. You can learn and learn and learn, but unless you do, unless you teach, unless you begin to develop a new skill, you aren't going to be able to change. You can learn and learn and learn, but unless you begin to implement and do, that's all wasted learning. So I hope this tip helps you figure out what your first things first are. It's my mission as your expert guide to leading a happy life to give you tools, tips, and strategies that you can use in your day-to-day life that will allow you to become the best version of you, to create the life that you want, and to go out in the world and be a positive role model and influencer for good. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this tip helped you in any way, please share it with somebody that needs it. Please comment on my YouTube page and give me feedback. Please subscribe to my channel. It's my mission to really help others to become happier people. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on my next tip.